Just wanted to thank you for joining this impromptu Zoom call right now. I know it's right in the height of playoff football about to come on, but just wanted to get you on real quick because we're doing this really cool feature with UsClubLax covering different areas of the country and their club programs and states around the country. And right now we're opening things up with Minnesota, which is where you're located right now. And we've also covered your club program, Frog Lacrosse, in our write-up so far. And first, just thanks for coming on today, Cory. And how are things going right now out in Minnesota?
Good. We just got back to practices and training. So, we picked up individual stuff and then we have our team practice today. So we'll be going about once a week and then hopefully heading into a smooth spring season as winter sports wrap up, but somewhat back to normal as we kind of navigate the vaccine rollout and planning on a hopefully normal summer season.
How has, obviously, it's been a hit to everyone with this pandemic and this high school seasons and also the club scene. How's it affected you and your business out there in Minnesota with Frog Lacrosse?
Oh man, massive ripple effect. So, back when this first went down last year in the spring, we were in offices. We were actually expanding at an older facility we were in. And when it hit, we had to shut down. So we had to adjust financially, being in a facility paying monthly rent without any lacrosse happening for 4 to 6 months. We knew we had to make a tough decision and leave our current facility. During the shutdown. So it's definitely impacted us. We've had to really, we adjust our plans weekly. We would make a summer schedule and then something would happen and then we'd have to readjust. And I think that happened 3 to 4 times. And then at one point in June, when the George Floyd situation unfolded and the riots happened, that's when Governor Walz also kind of adjusted the dial a little bit and we started replanning again, just with all the recent events and how that kind of impacted and created a ripple effect in planning. So it's been tough for sure, but this fall and winter with a little bit more information, understanding of COVID, we got to get some stuff in on the national side, Team UNRL side. Frog has been hit probably the hardest in that sense from the training, the small spaces, and a lot of their events. It's easy to pull kids from around the country to play in a tournament. It's interest level, that is. Getting 20 people from Minnesota during COVID is tough, but getting 20 kids across the entire country to go to a tournament is a little easier to get buy-in from. And understandably, some people aren't as comfortable traveling during this time as others. So it's been a little bit of a logistical nightmare, a lot of highs and lows, but a lot of new things on the horizon, one door shut and 5 open. So it's been great.
Cory, can you just delve into your background and how you got out into Minnesota to cover the club scene with Frog and Unreal?
Yeah, I started my first club team called Frost Lacrosse back in 2006. I think it was a summer of 2006. So I've been doing it for a really long time, just under different hats. So it was almost a need back then. I wouldn't say almost, it was a need, as in when I was playing club ball for Minnesota Elite, my brother was up and coming and there really wasn't options for him and his friends that went to other schools that wanted to play together. So basically we took 20 kids that just were going to private schools and public schools that were just really close friends and started Frost, and it just kind of snowballed from there where people started reaching out, wanting to be part of it. So it started out as a hobby. And then as the more and more I did it, it kind of looked into a potential career path for me. And it just kind of has grown since then. So going on year 15, I think summer 15. So I've just stuck with it ever since then. And it's kind of consumed my life.
What is the thing with Minnesota Club Lacrosse that you could share with the rest of the country about what's unique about it? Are you guys cohesive together? Is there harmony there with everyone, or is it there's some underlying rivalry here with the clubs in Minnesota?
I think it's come more cordial in the sense of I ran a league this fall called the Red Tape Club League that was really about highlighting kids from a local presence versus traveling all over the country. And we had kids from Team Minnesota True, Team 36, I think those were the three that we had kids kind of pull from. But we're not working together directly in that sense. We are friendly with a lot of clubs. A lot of us talk to each other. I think we're one of the most organized markets. I always make that joke that I think Minnesota Club Lacrosse has a lot of good people that know what they're doing. I think when you look at our market and look at the competition level, you have to bring your A game because there's a lot of good options for kids to play club lacrosse in Minnesota. So when I look at the market, I think it's a healthy competition. I don't think it's probably as crazy as maybe some other markets. And like I said, I talk to many of the club directors all the time. I'm pretty friendly with most of them. When I say most of them, I don't really have any bad blood with anyone, at least from my side of things, right? Like I don't look at anything. Maybe when I was 25, I'd be on here absolutely just being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. So now that I'm older and wiser, it's like competition's good, it's healthy, it's always going to be here, so you might as well get used to it.
Exactly.
And I think we're a mature market, so
That's good. That's a good way to put it. I think covering with just in this process with the UsClubLax covering Minnesota club lacrosse teams, everyone's been really cordial and forthcoming with the kids and promoting their clubs and the area and how huge it's become in Minnesota. Just run down us. Just explain Frog Lacrosse. I know we have the description in our write up, and just a little bit more about the program, and also delve into the national thing here with Unreal and what that means for you.
Yeah, so Frog Lacrosse is kind of like that focused on one kind of area of the metro. We started out just focused on South Metro kids, and then we kind of grew into that North Metro area. So we're pretty much kind of at the point of like a state team where we're trying to get all of our practices and training out of one area. But we're kind of the all-inclusive club. We're trying to compete with the other clubs in the market in the sense that what are other clubs offering? Let's just make sure that we're 1% better at all those. Of course, we want to be more than 1%, but we kind of look at it as it's a competitive, healthy competition of we want to be able to offer local training, recruiting support, the whole 9 yards in the sense of what a club program is about. And where we really try to differentiate is the side of culture, where we're trying to look at things. And COVID, that's put a massive wrench in this. So we can't plan team get-togethers and do all these things during the pandemic. But on the local front with Frog, it's getting the best players possibly can. The most ambitious players is probably the best way to phrase that. Especially at the younger levels. I mean, there's no such thing as an elite 10-year-old. I'm sorry, there isn't. So it's like who's ambitious that wants to get that extra training around, high quality coaches. That's how we look at it as is get those ambitious players and have them develop the program. Our retention rate's really high. So one thing we like to take pride in is watching Frog Lacrosse do. We usually do pretty average at the youth, but our high school teams competes on the national stage. So you'll see us compete locally and kind of have really close games or not do too lot of tournaments at the 5th grade. Then you'll see our 11th grade tournaments playing against national teams and going out to the big tournaments out east and competing at a high level. So we like to take pride in that as we see kids grow through the program. And Unreal really came around once again, kind of like Frost. When I look at why the Unreal national team started was it was a bunch of small clubs that was competing with the bigger branches, as you know, that had national teams. So what was going to be a point used against us was, well, Cory doesn't have a national team. So I said, okay, well, now I have a national team. So, I called
There
up.
you go.
Yeah, exactly. But it was a little more in depth than that. It was talking to other directors in Colorado, Texas, Kansas area, Wisconsin, and we all kind of saw the same things. We had five to six kids on our teams that could really compete with the best kids in the country, but we didn't have a full 20 coming out of our programs.
Right.
It's really hard. So we knew that it would be beneficial for the parents too, if we said, hey, let's grab our top kids, go bring them out to play against those top programs out east, because that's where they're really going to benefit and grow as a player. So it even grew into further to be like, okay, this is the travel team of the small market clubs, and this is the national team for kids that don't get the exposure they should. So we're trying to play a positive sum game. So yes, we might have a kid or two from New Jersey, which you might see Nate Lewis and Patrick Cece, but mostly kids on our team are Oregon, Wisconsin, or Colorado Springs, or out in Texas, New Orleans, kids who don't have that publicity, then we're trying to really hype them up and get that publicity when talking to college coaches too.
What's that been like for those kids I know obviously we talked about the whole COVID situation. It's impacted everything, but we see that this is 2020 came the year of the club scene, a lot of club events bleeding from the summer into the fall, a lot of fall events from September through December, and now you got things popping up here in the new year. Just talk about Unreal and having these kids to continue playing lacrosse. I know it's a lot to ask of them to get out to these events, but they're getting out and playing. Obviously, last week with our event, the Nationals down in Orlando with Mad Lax events, and just talk about what it means to have these kids come out and still play and play with Unreal.
Yeah, we did, I think, 13 tournaments. So I think we probably have done a lot more than most clubs in the country. And it's been a battle. I think the thing that has been, it's great to get the kids out. It's been a little bit logistically hard because we had kids every single event drop out due to COVID exposure. I missed it because of COVID exposure. Coaches have missed it because of COVID exposure. So it was tough. I think we executed it pretty well. Like, we attended 13 events. We didn't have to back out of any. And there's a lot of kids that right now are eager to play. They missed their whole spring season. Of course, we'd love to have more practices and training, but at least they're getting games in and competing. And everything we've been to as far as the fall and winter goes, events goes, they've been run awesome. I mean, as far as the COVID procedures go, the logistics of the events, it's a nice escape from the reality of the world and getting out there and letting the kids play and the smiles on not only the players, but the parents. So, and of course the coaches.
Talk about this facility we see here on social media here today. What's going on? What's up with that? Is it, how am I mispronounce it? Is it RET?
So there's two ways to say it. I say arete.
Arete. Okay.
Arete. Then
I just destroyed that.
No, everyone does. Only one person I think actually came up to me like, "Oh, it's arete." And I was like, "Oh, you said it right." But
what is arete?
Arete is how we announce it. Then some people say arete, which is not wrong. There's just two ways to say it.
So what's going on with the facility? It looks like something's happening out there for you guys. What's happening?
Yeah, so I can't talk about it too much until a later date, just because of all the things going on. But I can. Sure. We are building out a facility and working with some new partners on the local front. And we're really excited. We're trying to kind of create that really high-end experience once again for ambitious players where they can train locally. And we're trying to kind of look at things from a different lens and how we program. So that's where when you look at Arete is the umbrella company of Frog and Unreal, and you're going to see other things kind of pop up too. But we're really trying to be club agnostic in how we do things, just trying to focus on how do we solve issues in the club world. What are some bottlenecks that we're seeing and how can we provide solutions or opportunities for families that once again are positive sum games and providing more feedback and evaluations for kids too. So it's going to start with that facility and some other partnerships that we'll announce over the next probably 2 weeks. And then we'll be officially probably moved in early March to our new spot.
It's exciting stuff. Again, here with Cory Childs from Frog Lacrosse and also Unreal, and this is Tom Peace with UsClubLax talking with Coach Childs here because we're covering the Minnesota club scene and with our feature coming out here pretty soon, and just catching up with Coach Childs. Real quick, wanted just a couple more questions. Just wanted to touch on the recruiting process with your kids out there and how that's going with obviously getting back to the pandemic here, but how has that been this 2020 and coming into 2021, dealing with the college coaches trying to get looks for your kids and to contact them and reach out, and how's that been going for you here this past couple weeks and months?
It's been tough. I think, of course, it's tough on the college coaches, especially the D1s that can't be out on the trail watching the kids play in person. So, relying on film and it's tough. It's tough to do a full evaluation on film, but you do see it in other sports. And I know there's, a lot of coaches when I talk to them, it's like, they're getting kids committed that they've never actually watched play live. So I think this summer for a lot of our 222s, as they get prepared to actually for the first time get to play in front of these coaches and many coaches who haven't been out there traveling through all this, it's just making sure on our end that we have our kids prepared in the sense of organizationally, their GPAs, their scores, their target majors, and just keeping that communication up. So as one college coach said it, patience with persistence. So just staying on top of it. And then, once again, we don't know, we have no idea. The 22 class is still, there's gonna be so many coaches out there. So as the 23s enters in the fall, we have still all these 22s uncommitted that really haven't been seen. And we have some absolutely stud 22s that we are want to get in front of these college coaches all summer. So we know it's going to be a busy summer for a lot of people, but it's definitely, I think the 21 class was really hard. That was definitely tough for some of our kids. That for probably potentially D1 commits that, they found great homes at the D2 level, but I think in their mind, they kind of felt like the COVID situation, the ripple effect of it really hurt their chances. But once again, though, I do think they landed in some great spots. It's just a new world that we have to navigate and be aware of the rosters and how the COVID is going to continue to impact how college coaches recruit with the amount of guys coming back on campus here for the next 4 classes, and who's going to stay and who's going to end up moving on and starting their careers.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how this year plays out. Just one last question. Just talk about, obviously you've played in Minnesota, playing club and high school lacrosse. Just talk about what's the biggest misconception about Minnesota lacrosse that people from outside say about you guys that it's not right, and what would you say to people out there to take a look at when looking at frog lacrosse and Minnesota lacrosse in that scene out there?
Well, I'll say from frog lacrosse standpoint, these kids can ball, yet we're named frog lacrosse. I always get a joke of the name frog lacrosse. It doesn't scream elitism. It doesn't scream like top 1%. It's like,
I like your answer though, but it was the only other name animal out there left for a club.
exactly. Yeah. It was
It's a great name for a club.
Available. I went through all the domains that was animal based, and froglacrosse.com was there. And I was like, oh, boom. Okay. I can create a brand around this. And I knew kids would like it. It'd be fun. I didn't know frog was going to turn into what it did. It was really focused on like the local front, and it really blew up. But our frog kids are extremely good. They can play with the best club teams in the country. We might not go out and beat a crabs lacrosse team out in Maryland, but I think we can compete at a very high level that always surprises college coaches. Minnesota kids, up in Minnesota, I like to say we're very like entrepreneurial state, very business type A. People are very organized, so great academic players, great athletes, and great lacrosse IQ. So I think you can find a lot of great Minnesota lacrosse players. If they were out in MIAA or playing out east in those schools all the time, I think you'd see a lot more buzz around them. And that's kind of the hard thing about being, in the middle of the country.
But yeah, well, we're here to help bring that buzz for your guys and put some spotlight on these kids that play the game and work hard and deserve the recognition. And we're glad to feature Minnesota right off the bat and frog lacrosse and Unreal. And you're doing a great job out there, Coach. Thanks again for coming on today, and enjoy the playoff football this weekend. All right.
Yeah, I will. No, I appreciate the time.
All right. Thanks again. Have a good weekend.
You too.
All right.